Good evening, everybody. So it's Tuesday the 26th of January when I'm recording this. Great if you can watch me live and or on catch up later on, or on my YouTube channel, because most of my videos are recorded onto my YouTube channel, so you can always watch them there later on. So thank you for watching. And tonight is part 2 of the topic that I covered last week, part 1, of 5 signs and symptoms that you're not as healthy as you thought you were or are. Little things that as a naturopath I take quite seriously when I see my clients or talk to my clients, as I'm doing mostly these days on Zoom. They're really, really important things that I will cover in a consultation. And as you go about your day-to-day life, then it's really useful to have a bit of an understanding and awareness of these things, so that you can just make some small assessments as to whether you're as healthy, your nutritional status is as good as perhaps you thought you might, because sometimes it can take time for the little things and the little niggly things like this to catch up with us before we start to feel things and symptoms in a bigger way. So last week I talked about our skin health, I talked about the whites and the colour of our eyes, dark circles, I talked about headaches, what that can potentially mean, and about the colour of your urine. So if they are out of sync, then they may be signs of nutritional, suboptimal nutrition. It's not necessarily what would show up as a true deficiency, but it may just not be what I would call optimum for you. We're all unique individuals and have different requirements. We could all eat the same diet and need slightly different amounts because our lifestyles are different. So it's about what's right for you and not about a true deficiency or not. It can be a sign that your organ systems might need some support. I specialise very much in gut and digestive health, and that links very closely with the liver. So it could be the liver may need some additional support, or the gut might need some cleansing, or digestive support may be required. So we'll talk about those things as we go through these 5 symptoms today, the things to look for. Now, do remember that if you've got any concern about anything that I say, it's not to say that there's anything serious going on, but of course, if you are concerned, then you should go and talk to your doctor about it. And certainly if there was any blood where you're not expecting it, shortness of breath, prolonged pain that doesn't go away, then absolutely you should go and talk to your doctor, your GP, to get some proper tests done and to get things ruled out. But most of the time what I'm going to talk about, they're just little signs and symptoms that can just be a quick reminder to you to have a little think about whether you're looking after your health well, are you feeding yourself as well as you possibly could. And just before I go on to those, then just to remind you, as I said, that most of my videos are uploaded into my YouTube channel, which is called Peyton Principles Natural Health. So I've got my own YouTube channel. If you go and find it and subscribe to it, then whenever something new is uploaded, you'll see it posted. You'll get a notification about that. For example, it wasn't one of my lives here, but I was invited to do an interview for a gut masterclass series, and the recording of that has been uploaded into my YouTube channel, so it's not found on my Facebook page. And just before I go into my signs and symptoms, just to remind you, on a Friday I do a quick catch up of nutrition in the news on this page, my Facebook page, at 1 o'clock. Again, just a quick catch up of things that are in the news and my thoughts around anything that I've seen and heard about, or it could be something that I've seen with my clients that I think you may be of interest. So let's make a start then. And the first thing I'd say is take a good look at your nails. Now, often clients come and see me these days, the ladies, I'm usually talking about where they've got their shellacs, their painted gel nails. It's not something I tend to do, But just when I can, or when that's not on, and probably not at the moment because you can't get your nails done, take a really good look at your nails. If you do use a lot of that shellac type stuff, then it can damage the nails. It's why I don't do it. But if your nails don't have damage like that, then do take a look at them. Now, the things I'm always looking for are white spots. If it's just one odd white spot, it may come and go, grow out and not reappear. But if you notice that on several nails, people often say it can be a sign of poor calcium metabolism. Not necessarily that you've got a shortage of calcium, but you may not be metabolizing it very well. You may not be absorbing it well and utilizing it well. I also associate the white spots on nails with zinc. And I think zinc is something, I think I spoke about it last week, that we don't often get in sufficient quantities. We find zinc in our meats and our shellfish and other fish, and in our nuts and seeds. I think we don't get sufficient zinc in our diet. So have a look at your nails and study them. Quite a few white spots may suggest zinc, poor calcium metabolism. If it's just the odd one, I wouldn't be too concerned. Now, vertical ridges, which are coming from the nail bed to the outer edge of the nails. And sometimes it's worth just running your finger over your nails just to feel, can you feel ridges on your nails? Do they feel smooth? Or, you know, is there some large ridges on the nails, or is there just some faint ridges along them? Now, there isn't one precise reason for this or thought around this, but it may potentially be a sign of lacking B vitamins in your diet, or it could be a diet that is low in protein and higher in starchy and other types of carbohydrates and not enough protein in your diet. Are your nails, do they have a nice pink, healthy colour, or are they very pale? Is there poor oxygenation in your body? Is there poor blood flow? You know, does it flow well? Is it well oxygenated? So pale nails may be an indicator of that. And do they peel? That can be a sign of poor digestion, poor absorption of nutrients if they peel a lot. So have a look at that and study your nails. I love looking at people's nails, and people are really fascinated as to what I'm going to find when I look at their nails. And the second thing, when I'm with a client, ideally when I'm with a client, as part of my naturopathic diagnostic tools, is to look at people's tongues. Excuse me. Now, when I look at people's tongues, again, they can be really helpful. There is so much we can find about a tongue. But just to give you a few ideas of with your tongue, if you stick out your tongue in a mirror and have a look, what you want is to see a nice, healthy pink colour, not too pale, not too dark, with a very faint coating over it. I don't think any tongues are going to be completely clean. I'm not talking about your tongue necessarily first thing in the morning or after you've just eaten a meal or drunk coffee. But have a look at your tongue. What you don't want is a really thick coating over it. You don't want it to be really thick white coating. You don't want a yellowy green coating. And depending on where the coating is on the tongue, may be a suggestion of where the potential problem is in the gut. This relates very much to the gut, to the stomach, intestines and the colon. You know, is there a sign of too many toxins being thrown off in the gut, and therefore, you know, the gut cleansing may need a little bit of attention there, which goes on to some stuff to do with digestion that I'm going to talk about. Is it quivering very slightly? Does your tongue quiver? Because that may be a sign of stress in your life, prolonged stress. Could be a sign that you may be lacking magnesium. But holding your tongue out and noticing it quivering can be a very useful indicator for me to ask further questions about your lifestyle and what's been going on. And are there cracks in the tongue? Because cracks may suggest dryness in the digestive capacity, lack of digestive sufficiency that's going on when there are cracks there. So these are all great indicators for a naturopath to look at. And your lips. Now, most of the time, our lips, again, we want to look at the colour of our lips. Are they dry? Are they cracking? Do you have cracks at the corner of your mouth? Cracks at the corner of your mouth may suggest B vitamins that you're lacking. Potentially zinc. Comes back to that lovely zinc again. So the B vitamins we're going to find in whole grains and nuts and seeds, and again in our meat. And if you're vegetarian or vegan, you know, it can be a sign of lacking B12. So if you're getting lots of cracks, just think about your B vitamin status and pay some attention to that. Do you suffer from bleeding gums? This is more than just thinking about vitamin C, although that is important, but I'd be very much thinking about the whole mouth health. And just like we pay attention today about the gut microbes, we also need to pay attention to the oral microbiome, what's going on in the mouth, and whether there's dysbiosis going on in the mouth as well. So cracks on the lips may be a sign of dryness, dehydration, lacking essential fats. You know, if it's just because you've been out in the cold weather a lot, then it's slightly different. That should something that you should be able to overcome quite quickly. I would be concerned about constantly using these very cheap lip balms, because particularly ones with paraffin in, I think the more we use them, the more they're just going to dry our lips out even more. So be careful about what you put on your lips and try and use the most natural products available, because they might just do more harm than good overall. So the fourth thing I want to talk about, and signs and symptoms about whether you're healthy, is around digestive ability. Now, do you suffer from bad breath, halitosis? You know, nobody wants to admit it. You may be concerned about it, you may not be. But this comes back to two things in my mind: stomach digestive ability, and back to the oral microbiome dysbiosis. If we lack stomach acidity and food starts to ferment in our stomach and isn't properly broken down, then it may well be that some of the sort of like to do with the gases, poorly digested food, you know, maybe a little bit is just escaping back upwards, and can be reflected in bad breath. So I'd always want to investigate stomach acidity for someone who presented with a problem with their breath. And also, you know, mouth hygiene and going to see your dentist regularly, even at this time. Don't put it off. Do go and see your dentist. They practice absolutely safely, and it's really, really important to investigate that. If you're experiencing bloating higher up in the abdomen, and again, any reflux, acid reflux, don't assume that's to do with excess stomach acid. That's a whole other topic I would talk about, something that I specialise in when we talk about digestive insufficiency. Don't assume it's excess stomach acid. And unfortunately, if you do go to the GP, they are more likely to say, and will say, that it's likely to be excess stomach acidity. But in my experience, and in my clinic, and with my own experience, training and empirical evidence, I would say mostly with the clients I see, there is under acidity that is going on. So if you're not sure, you know, are you taking time to chew your food well, taking time over your meals? All of this helps to set the scene and prepare the stomach that food's arriving, to allow it to secrete sufficient stomach acid. It may need additional support than that, but they're certainly the things I would start with in terms of trying to help support good digestion in the mouth. Are you eating mindfully without the distractions and chewing the food well and not huge mouthfuls? Just take your time and slow it all down. Of course, with digestion, if you're experiencing wind, if you're getting cramping, if you're getting bloating in the lower abdomen, it's also a potential sign of digestive insufficiency, but mainly not starting in the stomach. It may be coming further down in the small intestines, and it is probably linked and all wrapped up, and it all becomes a bit of a vicious circle with dysbiosis with the microbiome. The only true way to really know about this is to undertake some very good stool testing and be very careful about what you choose. I only tend to recommend one particular company now for this, but you do need to have some expertise to understand and work with a practitioner to interpret it. But health does start in the gut, so do not ignore, I couldn't underestimate enough the importance of, do not ignore digestive symptoms, because what is going on in the gut is going to influence what's going on in the rest of the body, whether it's through poor nutrient absorption, poor absorption of B12 and minerals, or your proteins and your vitamins, whether it's to do with dysbiosis and upsetting the balance of the gut bacteria, which in turn has a massive knock-on effect with our overall health. So don't ignore it. And many people will think about food intolerances and will start to cut out more and more foods, but don't rush into that, because I think the food intolerance is more of a sign than a causation. What I mean by that is it's not the food per se that is causing the symptoms. It's that the poor food digestion is due to the cause of maybe lacking sufficient digestive sufficiency secretions to break down that food that you think is causing a problem. I only start to investigate food intolerances if I've eliminated these other factors first of all. So the fifth point I want to think about, I want you to take some attention to, and hopefully you're having this, not watching this while you're eating your dinner, is looking at your stools. Can be seem to be embarrassing, but I talk about this all the time with my clients. It's so important. We can laugh about it, and why not have a bit of a laugh about it? We've got to have a bit of fun, but it can give us a lot of information. So if they're very pale, clay coloured, almost a little bit yellow, maybe if they're floating, these can be signs of poor fat digestion, poor fat absorption, malabsorption as we call it. Is there insufficient bile, or for whatever reason are we not able to start to digest and absorb our fats properly? So is there, and then we need to think about the composition. There is a fantastic guide around this that is a real go-to as a practitioner, called the Bristol Stool Chart. We can again laugh about this, but I always get clients to describe this because it's so important. And it goes from describing your stools as being little sort of rabbit pellets, through to extremely large types of stools, to more softer sausage ones, to the very sort of loose bitty ones, to the more extreme diarrhea. And what we want is that middle sausage, easy to pass. What we don't want is them to be lumpy in bits, because they are signs of constipation. You may be going every day. Constipation doesn't just mean you go every, not having constipation doesn't mean I go every day, so that's fine. There are signs of constipation, i.e. things are moving through far too slowly. And when things move through too slowly, that can create a bad environment in the gut for our gut bacteria to thrive, the good ones. It allows toxins to get reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. The whole environment's really, really unhealthy. What we need to be looking at is our hydration, our fibre, but it might need some additional support, and more than that, especially if this has been going on for a long time. And don't assume that when we talk about diarrhea, it's the opposite of constipation. In my mind, I would say that diarrhea is actually a form of constipation, because you're not actually cleansing the walls of the colon. Everything is just rushing through loose, and you've probably got stuff building up. So that all needs to be corrected if you want good health. Now, of course, if the colour of your stools are very black, or if there's a sign of redness, you absolutely must get that investigated, of course. Don't ignore that. Don't put that off, and do go and talk to your GP about it. It may be very transitory. It could be just an ad hoc thing. You could have been eating a lot of beetroot, for example. Don't want to make you alarmed, but if I'm doing my job properly, I need to make you aware that just get it checked out. Better to nip things in the bud early on than catch things later on where there may be more work to do to catch up. So those are my 5 signs today. We've looked at now your skin, eyes, dark circles under the eyes, colour of your urine, are you getting headaches? And today we've looked at your tongue and your nails and your lips and the state of your digestion, and to look at your bowel movements and stools. These are all such important things that we can all take a little bit more time and care and attention just looking at this on a weekly basis, just checking in with ourselves to see how we feel and are. It's not so much how we feel, because we may feel fine. It's just these signs may be great visual clues that some things may not be as perfect and optimum as they can be, and you've got time to make some changes, pay a little bit of attention to your lifestyle and your diet and your well-being. So I'll be back on Friday at 1 o'clock for my nutrition in the news. I am running this week a sugar-free challenge in a different group, which I'm really enjoying running. This is a free one, but at the end, or at the beginning of March, on the 1st of March, I'm going to be running another 2-week program called a spring rejuvenation. That's what it's going to be about. So look out for more information about that. I'm looking forward to that. I think by the time you get to the beginning of March and there's more lightness and hopefully a little bit more warmth, then and the bulbs and spring flowers are coming through, the daffodils are up, we'll be ready to start embracing, paying really good attention to our health. So I hope you'll enjoy me on my next challenge. Thank you for your time. Any questions, do post your comments and any questions you may have, because I will always see those and answer them. Have a lovely week. Take care of yourselves and see you next week.